and today we're talking about behaviors. And what we will talk about is why or what we should watch for or listen for, or what we should notice in our team environment, and also from perspective of self-awareness, what kind of behaviors and attitudes we are demonstrating and why is that important. And I know this is a big topic because it's profiling, and you said there is a lot of different profiling tools we can use, but let's first kind of start with why is that even important? Why behavior?
The cornerstone of a lot of our actions, the seed, the starting place is in your behaviors. Your behaviors are going to dictate a lot of what comes out in our actions. Behaviors dictate language, style, the manner in which we connect to other people. And I don't know if you've ever watched this, Alex, but sometimes you'll get two people trying to have a conversation, and if you watch closely, you're going to notice that it's almost as if they're speaking other languages, right? And that's
like
because, yeah, it's like, yeah. And there's a lot of study outside of in and around behavior that tell us that often we're in a conversation, our mind can be somewhere else, triggered by what we hear and how we hear it and so on. So, but I want to give a really simple example, if I can, that profiling allows us to do a couple of things. Number one, I used to wonder why I always seem to be the guy in the hurry. Since I can remember, I've been that fella. I've been the guy on the move. Things happen to happen now. And I could never figure out how it was that people could just kind of sail, relax, take it easy, sit down, come and...
Yep.
I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like Matt 2 with my hair on fire over here. I haven't got enough time to breathe, leave alone do anything else. And it wasn't until a leader I worked for said, you know what, we really want to start profiling our behaviors so we can understand ourselves better. And I was like, what do you mean? How's it going to help me? I got all this stuff going on. And the day came when we got the profiles done, and surprise, surprise, my behavior was a real result-driven behavioral pattern where I needed facts, things need to happen quickly. And I was like, oh my God, that's wow, right? That's really me. You know, give me enough facts. I don't need all of them, but give me enough, I can make a decision. I can be fierce in competition. I'm going, yeah, wow, okay, this is really, it was, you know, like, how, you know, who did you pay to find out about me? It was all these kind of really crazy things. And then it identified other behaviors, people who were more relationship driven, people to whom connection was really more important. And I kind of had respect for that, but boy, where do you find the time to do that? Then I understood the power of it a little bit more. When I understood who I was, at least I became very aware of how I was arriving at my decisions and how I was arriving at my actions because of what I valued, what I saw, what I took in. But more importantly, in a leadership role, it allowed me to understand why my team members behaved the way they behaved, how they arrived at their decision, what affected those things. And as soon as I had enough awareness about what I would call dominant behaviors, and there's at least for example, one measurement, one profiling tool, eDisc, breaks down behavior into 4 distinct categories. And some of the monikers of that categories could be people who are task orientated, people who are relationship orientated, people who are in the curiosity and ask department, people who are in the tell and direct department. And it became really clear to me after I began to embrace this and understand this, that different team members had different gifts, different abilities, different contributions they were capable of making. But if I kept responding to them the same way, I was never going to get the great performance out of them because I spoke a language that was, result driven.
And they couldn't understand. Yeah.
And they were more
looking for facts.
Connection or impact or detail, and we're all speaking different languages and wondering why no one got heard. And what that did, that changed my listening.
Yeah.
It really activated my listening, because as my team began to talk to me, it was if some kind of universal decoder was present now, when I could really hear things from my team I had never experienced before, never was even aware that that was. And more importantly, Alex, that I could respond to them in a really full way, in a language that they understood. So I could decode in EDIS, there are 4 main categories. One of the categories is called dominant. It's the heat seeker. It's the result bearer. It's the do it now. When do you need it? Yesterday. It's that behavioral pattern of getting things done.
Yeah.
And the diametrically opposed behavior is S, which is called the stabilizer. And these are people who are driven to connect. These are people for whom they become the hub. They become the spiritual leaders, the glue of many organizations, because of their warmth. They're connected. They want to help solve your problems as well, solve the problems of the business. And I could never understand that behavior. It's like, where do you get the time to do that? And it wasn't until I was able to have this decoded for me that the enormous disservice I was doing by not understanding that language, by not understanding how that person behaved. And the second that I did, revolution happened and my world changed.
I agree. Yeah.
And certainly I can tell you in my business, profiling has helped enormously how we connect, and it's really lifted the quality of our ability to connect and to speak to each other. And communication is the bottom line of all success in business, the ability to adequately communicate.
Yeah, that's what
wherever I've introduced it, it's had a profound effect.
Yeah, the communication, when you mentioned that, I was just going to say, like, we need to mention communication, because it's basically helping us to understand what other person needs and how best we can communicate with a person to achieve the same result and to actually communicate the same topic but different ways. And I think that's what we are forgetting a lot of time, that yes, there are people and everybody's different. Even if we will break them down into 4 energies, that means 25% of people in our team will be people, big picture thinker, that we need to really talk about the results and vision and all that amazing stuff. And there are I energies where we need to talk about a little bit of fun and a community, and like bring a little bit of different element. But also I think not just for communication, but also when you have those different energies in the team, when you understand how to communicate and what to do, I think you also have a little bit more fun in a work environment, because you focus on different things, not just one style, one energy, one thing, but you get more creative and innovative in communication and processes. I believe that's
definitely. I think it brings out a part of you that lies dormant otherwise. I think that the important point that I want to make about what profiling does is that it helps your ability to listen, because that's the biggest component that's missing, is we can't hear what some people are saying sometimes because it almost seems like a foreign language. And if I can give you a really practical example, Alex, I don't want to hold us up, but I think this is a really major thing to experience. I was given a task by a former employee who shall remain nameless, massive telephone company. I was given a task to find out, why is it that our outbound acquisition sales team seems to function, no matter what we do, seems to function somewhere between 10 and 12% return on the investment. So our strike rate of return seemed to be, when we were going great guns, we might nudge 14% return. Why is it there? And to answer that question took me nearly 2.5 years, because I started trying to figure out what is happening. Why is it 1 in 10? Is this some universal sales law that I heard that, 1 in 10 is a But why is that? I could never figure out. I needed to know why that was. That was a job given me. Go solve this problem. And I was trying to figure out, why is this 1 in 10? Why is this 10%, 12%? Why is this number so consistent? And it wouldn't matter if I was measuring a small team, if I was measuring a small department, if I was measuring the state, or if I was measuring the country, it held. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't figure this out. And I started looking at characteristics. I was trying to break this down in categories, what to look for, how to identify what to look for. This is some time ago. All right. Perhaps not as wise as what I am. This was some time back. And here's what I noticed. I noticed that in the cases where we were successful, there was a definite notable pattern that potential clients and our team members seemed to be having a fabulous time. Their connection was really obvious, and pretty soon those conversations turned into commitments, and we created new clients. And I was fascinated by it. How is that? That's almost universal. This is happening. What is going on there? Then I realized that the answer might not be here, but I started to look at the occasions, because we document everything that goes on in that organization. I looked at all the times in which the 9 out of 10 times where we weren't successful. And I noticed another pattern. I noticed the same sales team and management teams reaching out to potential clients energetically and enthusiastically and with a desire to do well, and those connections not happen. Those calls were very unpleasant. Those they lacked compatibility, and therein lied a little clue to me. I went, oh, hang on. And I tried to find another way to categorize this, and it became really evident to me that in the occasions where our team members were being successful in creating new clients and bringing people into the fold, it was as if my team members were running into themselves, behaviorally. There was a real kinship.
Yeah.
And in the times when we weren't connecting, there wasn't the connection, there wasn't a kinship. It was as if these were speaking Greek and these were speaking Mesopotamian, you know? And all of a sudden I started to understand, well, hang on a minute, there's something to understand here. And we all have a predominant behavioral pattern, a dominant behavioral energy that we operate from. And in solving this, that it was behavior, I found DISC, I found DSIC as a profiling tool. And as we began to teach that to our team, and as our team members began to embrace it, all of a sudden, this stat of 10%, 12%, best 14% ever began to change, and change dramatically. And I mean, you know, from a multi-billion-dollar business, if you change something from 10% to 15%, you're just putting a bank of zeros behind that, right? From a commercially speaking. Yeah. But there are our peak performance rates were 40% conversion, which is unheard of, and possibly one of the reasons why that particular company in that space dominated for as long as it did, because it had a national team whose training included understanding behavior intimately, which increased their listening capacity, which increased their ability to communicate, which ultimately improved the result. So I can tell you from a pure commercial point of view, the impact of understanding behavior is deep.
Absolutely. And it's massive, like from perspective of salesperson, or even if you're a team leader, right? But it's also like you need to be able to communicate in all four energies. And I think that's the magic, you know, of the how to achieve better results. Because even when I'm doing sales with people, we talk about a few different things. They approach the conversation naturally, unconsciously, from their dominant energy or from that one energy. And they can't hear that the client in front of them really wants to hear something else, like really is seeking and hungry for that one sentence. And I think learning this really learning how to talk in 4 energies and how to utilize them. It's just so profound for business and for the result in anything, in sales, in leadership, culture. Really, really important.
Amen.
I think that's great. And if you are interested, guys, in this profiling or any other profiles, we can talk about it. We can do assessment in your team, and we will be happy to show you in more detail how you can actually utilize 4 different energies and different profiles in your team, within your team, and create better culture and better results. Thank you very much, PK, and I will see you in the next session.